So our next guest is Michael Halper, and he is actually an author, and he's creator of the Sales Scripter, and that helps business and sales professionals to increase their sales results by improving their prospecting and lead generation, of course. And as I said, he is the founder and CEO of Sales Scripter, and what that is a web-based solution that helps sales professionals develop their sales messaging. So in this session, what he's going to do is he's going to dive into how you can build content that really helps you to actually grab the prospect's attention, being a little bit, whether it's polarizing or how you're going to do that, and it will help you to pre-qualify the prospect. So I'm sure you're all excited about how to pre-qualify while you're also grabbing their attention. So please help me welcome to the stage the incredible Michael Halper. I love your intro music. It's awesome. Yes. Welcome, Mike.
Totally fits me, by the way. All right, good afternoon. So I feel like I have my work cut out for me. It's been a really long stretch. I've been sitting there right with you all. And I think I'm before your next break. So bear with me. It's maybe a dry topic as well, content marketing, developing content. But I'm a fairly analytical guy, and you'll see that as we get through this. And I think there's a lot of analytical people in this crowd. And so I'm going to take a very dry topic, such as developing content and creating good content marketing strategies, and show you how you can generate leads, use a process to develop that content, a repeatable process, and a process that you can distribute that content to drive your results forward. So let's get started. So we want to start with different types of content that you can produce. By the way, we've all heard all day and the past couple days, content. So we know how important it is. Heather was just talking about it. What we haven't heard a lot of is how can you create your content? And I'm going to give you the keys to tell you exactly what you need to do. Now, here are the different types of content you can create. Nothing revolutionary on this slide. Many of you have some of these things. Some of you may have all of these efforts on your website or in your marketing materials. But you have blog posts, articles. You can read the slide. Now, if you don't have some of these, this may give you some ideas of different pieces that you can add to your mix. But the key here is developing good content. Because if you have a blog post that you're regularly posting to, but it's not engaging content, it's not attention-grabbing content, it's not going to get you very far. I'll give you, if it's optimized content, you might get some traffic. But let's talk about really creating the best content you can for your business. So those are some of the types of content that we will produce through this process. And now let's talk about how you can produce the best content. But before we do that, I want to take a step back and look at what maybe not so great content can look like. So we're going to look at a traditional messaging approach, okay? And I'm going to lay out the pillars of this approach. And it starts with company information, right? The company I work for, we're headquartered in such and such city. We have been in business for so long, okay? The products we sell XYZ product, ABC product. Our products do this. These are the features that you can purchase, or these are the features you can add on to what you're already using today. And these are the benefits delivered. So these are the pillars of a traditional marketing approach. Now, if you've worked for a company, you may have gone through a new hire training, and they blasted you with this information. And whether it's yourself, and this template's modified some of the text a little bit, but what you put on top of these pillars is your messaging strategy. So if this is the knowledge that you have in your head, or this is the knowledge that you train your salespeople on, or your marketers, this is what they use when they're talking to people, or when they're building your web copy, or when they're doing copywriting. They're using this data. And what's wrong with these pillars? What's wrong with it is that it's very all about me, my company, my products. And I'm preaching to the choir here. You know that this is not the right messaging strategy. So what we do is we turn this upside down, and we use a different approach. So we start with value. Okay, the other methodology had product. You want to push one step forward to say, what is the value that my product delivers? And value isn't what your product does. Value is what your product allows your customers to do or to achieve. Okay, so then we want to look at the pain that you resolve. What pain of your prospects do your products resolve? Because you want to know the best way to grab your prospects' attention is focus in this area right here. Your prospects are motivated to decrease the areas where they are having challenges, and your products address something. If your products or services don't alleviate some sort of pain, then you might want to look at selling something else, because just about everything does. Everything that we sell eliminates some sort of challenge. And what you want to do is you want to identify those challenges and include that in your content and in your messaging strategy. Let's move on to the next one, qualify. You want to qualify your prospects. And I know we're talking about messaging, content marketing. You can actually use your content marketing to qualify your prospects. And what does qualify mean? Qualify means you sell a product or service. Not everybody out there needs what you provide. I know we all wish they did, but the reality is that there's a subset that do and a larger portion that don't. You want to spend your valuable time focusing on the subset that does. So how can we do that? We can develop content that qualifies our prospects. And the way that you qualify typically, and you do it this verbally or in written copy, is by asking questions. Okay? We'll talk about what that looks like. Objections. Objections are your prospects' messaging. Okay? I know there's a discussion about objections earlier a little bit. Your messaging needs to include your responses to those objections and interest. Are we on interest? Yes. So interest kind of takes us to the traditional model, right? The traditional model was all about me and not so much about you. Interest kind of goes back to that because at some point we need to talk about ourselves, right? But let's do it in a more effective way. I'm not going to talk about my products and my company. What I'm going to do when I want to build your interest is I'm going to talk about how my products differ. I'm going to talk to you about the impact if you don't buy my products. I'm going to talk to you about the ROI that my products deliver. And credibility. Credibility is how I've helped other businesses. So I'm going to tell you in my messaging and in my content marketing how I've helped other businesses. And if we use that foundation and those pillars, that then feeds into everything that we do and everything that we say. And this can be a more effective approach. Now, let me give you, what's interesting here is, so what you would want to do if you like this methodology and you want to use this to create your content, you would fill out these columns of points for how your services or your products apply. And you might look at that and go, well, that's kind of intimidating. So what value do I offer? And if you put on your marketing hat, you might try to think of some paragraph. You just want brief one-sentence statements. So Sales Scripter, we help salespeople to improve their messaging. That's a value point. It can be short and sweet. But what you want to do is you want to fill in these columns. So what's really interesting here is that there's a relationship between these columns. And here's where we get into the analytical mindset. Maybe half of the crowd might appreciate this. But you can start at one end of this. There's a linear relationship between these pillars, right? So and let's start with the conversion. I'm just pulling this out of the air. There's a conversion conference coming up. So let's put on our hat and think that we work for digital marketer. And so what is a value point that they help with that conference? They help entrepreneurs to improve their ability to improve conversion rates. Okay, so that's a value point. That would go in the very first column. What is the pain that they resolve? We can take that one point and identify the pain that resolves because there's a relationship there. If they help me to improve my conversion rates, then a pain that they resolve is that I'm having trouble with conversion rates. So there's a pain, And then from that pain, we can develop our qualifying question that should be asked either verbally or in our emails, in our content marketing, which is, are you having trouble with your conversion rates? And if the answer is no, then you're not a prospect for digital marketer to try to promote to you to come to the conversion conference, because you don't need to go there. You're not going to spend your money because you're not having that problem. So we started with value, that led us to the pain, and that leads us to the qualifying question, and there's a linear relationship there. So if you just start to identify some of your key points, this can be a path for you to identify very powerful content marketing. Now let me show you a few more examples. So I'm a bit nearsighted. So here we go. Now here are the categories, and here is one example of a content marketing topic. So what I've done here is I've taken our nugget of that we identified for each category, and so here's the topic: 4 ways to improve the conversion rate. So there you go. There's for digital marketer. Now what can they do with that topic? Okay, that's just a topic. That's the beginning point. From there, you need to develop the content piece, right? If we go back to that first slide I showed you with blog posts, articles, webinar, ebook, white paper, case study, you still need to write the content, okay? And that's a challenge that we've talked about that today, but you can hire a copywriter, you can develop the content yourself. That's a challenge. There's not a whole lot I can do there to take that away from you. But what I can do is I can say, there was a mention today of the difficulty in hiring a copywriter and managing copywriters and producing content. I will tell you this: if you fill in those buckets of, here is how we help from a value standpoint, here are the pains that we resolve, here is how we differ, here's how we build interest, and here's our credibility, here are the 5 companies we've worked for, and you fill that out and you give that to a copywriter, they're going to produce excellent copy, right? Because what happens more often than not is that you hire them, you talk to them for a little while or whatever, and then you hope that they develop good copy. So hopefully that will help there. Here's some other topics. 5 ways to decrease sales staff turnover. So sales staff turnover is a pain that prospects of mine experience. So by the way, when we're developing content internally, we really focus on pain topics. So we'll take, here are the 5 pains that we fix, and we'll develop a lot of content on that. So I want to send to sales managers, one of my ideal prospects, I want to send them a piece of content on 5 ways to decrease sales staff turnover. And the prospects that open that content and consume that content, I know are qualified prospects. So other topics, a qualified topic here is, are you concerned about sales staff turnover? So you can see the relationship there. It's kind of connected to that pain point. The topic is actually a question. So that makes actually a title for a blog post or a white paper. That could be the title there, and then whatever content we produce outlines how to respond to that question or the factors involved. So there's some other topics there. Let's keep moving. So we talked to you about how to develop some content, okay, or some topics, and then you can fill in the content. Let's talk about distributing that content. And some of these points here are replicating other points that have been made here in this conference, but this is our spin on it. So you have a subject line. We know that's very important. Here, this example is the title of one of those topics, those content marketing topic articles, right? So you could just stick the topic of your content piece as the subject line, or you can modify it. What we would do is, if you did just use the whole subtitle, maybe remove the capital letters to where it looks like it's more of a personal message. We like to personalize our emails a little bit. The other thing that you could do is you could just do a derivative of it. Instead of 5 ways to decrease sales staff turnover, you could say decrease sales staff turnover, or are you having trouble with sales staff turnover? And now you get to the body of the email. And we've all heard again and again, you want to be brief and you want to be short. Well, let's say that you've created a blog post, and the blog post is on your website, right? That's a 500-word blog post on how to decrease sales staff turnover, okay? What you want to generate this lead, and I'm going to get into the whole workflow of how this works, you want to send this email, and you want to direct the prospect to your website, to that blog post. And this can differ depending on the content piece. Maybe it's a white paper that's a downloadable document that you want to send them to a landing page where they enter their information and download it. Either way, you're going to use this email to direct them to the content most likely. Now, the body of the email will just be a paragraph. At most, a paragraph and a half of introducing the content with a link saying, go here to get more, right? You just want it to just be a brief intro. And the format, we've heard a lot about HTML formats and whatever. You could do this in a very colorful HTML format, or you can do it in a plain text. I'll tell you, the clients that we're working with, we're using plain text more and more. We have a philosophy of when you do autoresponders, our autoresponder emails are HTML based and very professional and colorful. But sometimes when we do an email from like a salesperson or a small business owner, and we want to make it personal, and so we'll make it very plain text, no images, and it could even say, hey, hello, Mary, check out this new article we wrote, thought you might like it. And we might even, instead of hyperlinking that, we might even put the whole URL so it looks like the person sending it actually copied instead of hyperlinking it. So we'll do everything that we can to make it look like a one-to-one email versus a one-to-many email. And I know that philosophy may apply sometimes and not others, but it's sort of like checking your mail at home. Think about checking your mail, and when you're checking your mail at home, you're looking for reasons why you look for mail. When you go through your mail, you assume it's junk and look for a reason to not throw it away, right? And if you think about when you come across an envelope that's handwritten, what do? You open it up. And if it's typed or whatever, look, there's a lot of advertisement on it, you tear it up without even really looking at it. So we apply that, and we believe that plain text, personal, can help with that. But we're kind of getting off topic there. So, all right. So now let's talk about distributing this content, right? And hopefully we got a little bit away from the dry material and maybe the uncomfortable and the area that you don't really want to talk about. But now we've produced some content, right? I talked to you about maybe six categories of content that we can produce. Let's divide that content into two areas. We'll have tier 1 and tier 2, okay? So our tier 1 campaign is our value topics, pain topics, and qualify, okay? And tier 2 are objections, interest, and credibility. The reason why this division is there is that the top category is less about me and more about you. Value is how I help you. Pain is the challenges that you are having. Qualifying is questions that I'm asking you, right? So this still stays within I'm not sending you emails to talk about me. I want to talk about you, okay? And these are very attention grabbing. Are you having trouble with this? Look at ways to decrease that, okay? Now, tier 2 kind of gets to me, right? Because objections come up at a point where we're talking about me. If I reach a point where a common objection that comes up in my business, our software produces scripts. And so a lot of sales managers or salespeople might say, oh, we don't use scripts. We don't think scripts are very good, okay? So if we're at a point where we're talking about that objection, then it's okay for me to start talking about me and we're at another level. If we're at a point where we're talking about how I'm different, then we're at another level. So I'll show you there's a time to use tier 1 and there's a time to use tier 2, and let's get into that. So remember, our goal is still to generate leads. All right, content marketing isn't fun. The leads is the fun part. So let's get to the fun part. We've developed our content, and now it's time to distribute it. So step 1, build our target list. I'll tell you right now, we use, so there's a sponsor here called Lead Ferret. We actually use their service. We've been using their service about a year. What we like about them, we switched over from another service. Lead Ferret gives us email addresses. So we go to Lead Ferret, we put in our demographics of our prospects, and we get a list, okay? And then we load that up into our CRM. We actually use one of the speakers here was from Sales Nexus. We use Sales Nexus as our CRM and our email distribution system. The reason why we like Sales Nexus is because we use their email functionality and their CRM functionality, so all the data is in one place in one database. All right, so we got our list in Sales Nexus. We've also loaded up an email template with our intro to our content and our direction, our link. And now we're going to send our content. So what do we have here? 3 ways to decrease sales staff turnover. So I'm sending out a brief email to 10,000 sales managers. And I'm going to send them this article because I want to find out who likes it. All right. So step 3 is identify who clicks. Now, the great thing about the click that goes to the content on our website is, as you know, we can track those clicks. What does the click mean? The click means, well, if I send it to 10,000 sales managers and 150 click, I don't know if that's a good percentage or not. I'm not an expert. You all know more about email statistics than I do, but let's say 150 click. I know those 150 that click are pretty darn interested in decreasing sales staff turnover, which is a pain that I can help with because one of my key value points is we help to decrease sales staff turnover. So what do I want to do? I want to call those 150. And this is probably where a lot of the room gets really uncomfortable. What? You mean we're not working in email anymore? We have to pick up the phone and call? So if that really makes you uncomfortable, you can skip that step. This process will still work from a pure email standpoint. But we're going to call, and I'll talk to you about what we say when we call briefly on the next slide. But we're going to call, we're going to follow up. I'll tell you right now what we're going to say. We're going to say, oh, hey, we're going to act like we could say, hey, I sent you some information. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. We know that they clicked, but we'll play dumb. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. Wanted to see if you had any questions on that or wanted some more information. But you know what? I also have a couple questions for you while I have you on the phone. How concerned are you about with your level of sales staff turnover? Is that something you're interested in decreasing? And and what is that question that I just said right there? That's one of our qualifying questions, part of our sales message, our messaging strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the prospects and ask them our qualifying questions. And based on their answers, maybe I schedule a meeting, maybe I don't. So you can see here I schedule a meeting, and let's say I don't. Well, here comes our Tier 2 campaign. So if I don't schedule a meeting with the prospect, then I put them on my Tier 2 campaign, which is more about me. Because we've talked now, and I know this prospect has been to our website. So we're at that more warm level. And there you go. That's it. And because that's going to be an autoresponder, or that's going to be a campaign, I'll probably have like between 5 to 10 content pieces in that Tier 2 campaign. And that's going to roll out to that prospect over, a period of a couple months maybe. And hopefully during that period, they're going to come back to me because they're going to see all that great content, or I'm going to follow up with them with another call. So that's kind of the core of it, but it doesn't stop there, unfortunately for you all. If you were saying, well, what do I say when I call? You can come back to this. If you've done your homework here, you can communicate value, you can talk to the prospect about the pain that they're having, you can qualify, you can talk about any of those areas when you follow up with your call. But here's the easier part, right? You've already done the hard work. You've created your content. You've distributed it. Well, hopefully, now you can just broadcast all this great content, or as you're developing it, on your social media, right? So you've probably done a lot of the work here. Create your social media accounts, and then post your content as status updates on your social media. Point 3 here is optional, but it's a best practice, which is post similar content to what you're producing from external providers. That way you become sort of an influencer and a reliable source. You're not just out there promoting your content. Here are some social media accounts that you can create. When you heard me talk about creating your social media accounts, you might have said, I'm good there. Well, do you have all of these? a lot of them, you need 2 accounts. You need a business and a personal page. Now, what's great about this is that this will still help you to broadcast your message, and that will, if you have connections and you're connecting with people, hopefully you're going back to your office when you get home from this trip, and you're going to connect with everybody that you met here, and your prospects are going to see you broadcasting that content, and that's going to drive inbound traffic. Search engine, this is going to tremendously drive your search engine optimization, because as you're producing this content, a lot of it will be on site, on new pages on your website. If it's a blog post or whatnot, each page is an additional page that gets indexed, new keywords to get indexed. Hopefully your content is optimized for certain keywords that you want to rank on. That's a whole nother subject that we don't have time for here today. But as you get more optimized, you're going to be driving inbound traffic. And you know what? This can be another way for you to increase leads. So here we can see here another workflow. We got inbound leads coming from our social media and from Google or search engines. And they come to our website. Maybe they come to a landing page where they view the content, or they have to opt in to get our content. That's what's great about maybe case studies, white papers, ebooks. You got to have them opt in, and then they get the content. But as they opt in, then they get added to your Tier 2 campaign. Because remember now, these are warm leads. They've already been to your website, and they know who you are. So now we can hit them with that more all about me content. And then that can either lead to, what you can do, you can use tools like HubSpot or Visitor Track, or there's software that you can see who's coming to your website, and you can call them proactively, or they reach out to you, but that can lead to lead generation. So that's really what I presented on, and I am right on time, so hopefully you appreciate that. But what we talked about here today was how to produce content that can catch their attention, how to distribute it. And the real goal there is to generate leads. And that's all I got. So I'll pass it back to you. And thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.
Good job. Thank you. Michael Halper. Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks for being here.